The diner was the kind of place people remembered long after the roads changed and the city grew louder. Soft light hung from the ceiling. Red booths carried the quiet weight of years. Coffee steamed gently in thick white mugs. And the slow hum of conversation felt like a song from another time. Marlene was 28. Her brown hair tied back in a simple ponytail. Her blue uniform neat but worn at the edges. She moved with care and patience. The kind that only comes from learning how to endure more than most. She had learned early that kindness was not weakness. It was survival. That morning had started like any other. Pouring coffee. Smiling at strangers. Remembering orders without writing them down. A quiet pride lived in those small things. But then the door opened. And the past walked in wearing expensive shoes. Victor Hale was 55. Tall. Sharp. Dressed in a dark suit that spoke of power and control. The kind of men who did not ask. He expected. Beside him stood his assistant and a man who looked more like security than staff. Their presence filled the diner with a tension no one could quite name. Marlene froze for just a second. Not long enough for most to notice. But long enough for her heart to remember. Victor was her father. A man who had built his empire on discipline and distance. A man who believed love was something earned through obedience. He looked at her not as a daughter, but as a mistake that had refused to disappear. Come here. His voice was calm but heavy. Marlene walked toward him slowly. Each step felt like stepping back into a life she had fought to leave. You should not be here, he said. This place. This job. This life. It is beneath you. His words were not loud. But they carried enough weight to silence the room. Marlene tried to speak. Tried to explain that she had chosen this life. That she had found peace in simplicity. But Victor did not listen. He reached out and grabbed the front of her uniform. Not violently. But firmly enough to show ownership. You are coming with me. He said. Right then. Across the diner. A chair scraped loudly against the floor. Isaiah Brooks stood up. 42. Broad-shouldered. With the quiet strength of someone who had seen too much and survived it. His dark shirt rolled at the sleeves revealed faded scars that told stories without words. Beside him stood his daughter. Lila. 9 years old. With soft curls and eyes that noticed everything. She held his hand tightly. And then she spoke. She needs help, Daddy. Her voice was small. But it carried across the room like truth always does. Isaiah did not rush. He did not shout. He simply walked forward. Step by steady step. Excuse me. He said. His voice calm. Measured. Grounded. You need to let her go. Victor turned slowly. Annoyed more than threatened. This is none of your concern. Isaiah nodded gently. It became my concern the moment she looked afraid. There was no anger in his tone. Only clarity. Victor studied him. Trying to measure him. Trying to decide if he was worth acknowledging. Do you know who I am? Isaiah looked at him for a moment. Then he shook his head. Does it change what you are doing? The question settled into the space between them. For a moment. The power Victor carried seemed to hesitate. Marlene felt something shift inside her. A quiet strength she had not felt in years. You cannot control me anymore. She said softly. Her voice trembled. But it did not break. Victor tightened his grip slightly. You belong with your family. Marlene took a breath. Family does not feel like this. The words landed deeper than any argument. Isaiah stepped a little closer. Not aggressive. Just present. Let her choose. He said. Lila squeezed his hand. Please. She whispered. Victor looked at the little girl. And for a brief moment. Something human flickered in his eyes. But it faded quickly. He released Marlene's uniform. Fine. He said. But do not expect help when this life fails you. Marlene straightened her apron. Her hands shaking but her spirit steady. I stopped expecting help a long time ago. Victor turned and walked out. His presence leaving behind a silence that felt almost sacred. The diner slowly came back to life. Marlene stood still for a moment. Then looked at Isaiah. "Thank you," she said. He nodded. "You already did the hard part." Lila smiled up at her. "You were really brave." Marlene knelt slightly to meet her eyes. Sometimes being brave just means not going back. Isaiah returned to his booth. But something had changed. Not just for Marlene. For everyone who had witnessed it. Over the next weeks, Marlene began to laugh more. Her movements lighter. Her smile more real. Isaiah and Lila became regulars. They would sit by the window, sharing pancakes and quiet conversations. There was no rush. No expectation. Just the slow building of trust. One afternoon, Marlene joined them during her break. They talked about small things. Weather. Old music. The way life used to feel simpler. Isaiah spoke about his years in service. About losing friends. About learning that strength was not about fighting, but about knowing when to stand still. Marlene listened carefully. Lila rested her head on the table. Half asleep. "You know," Isaiah said softly. "People think starting over is about finding something new. But sometimes it is just about finally choosing yourself." Marlene smiled. "I think I am just beginning to understand that." The seasons began to change. The air outside grew cooler. Leaves turned gold and fell quietly. Inside the diner, warmth remained. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Marlene stood by the window, watching the street. Isaiah walked in with Lila. They looked like something steady. Something real. Not perfect, but honest. And in that moment, Marlene realized something simple. Life does not always give you the family you expect. But sometimes, it gives you the people who help you become who you were meant to be. She poured 3 cups of coffee. And for the first time in a long time, the future did not feel heavy. It felt open. Soft. Possible. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, "You are home now." If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Because stories like these remind us that kindness still matters.